For this Homegrown episode, I got to check something off of my bucket list, meeting a true South Dakota agriculture legend, Jim Wooster. I met with Jim at the Sioux Falls Stockyards Ag Experience Museum, and we shared a few laughs.
Graduated from South Dakota State on a Monday night, started at Sioux Falls Stockyards the next morning. Couldn't get another job, to be honest with you, but just fell in love with it. I was there 46 years. When the stockyards closed in 2009, the building that we're in, a group of us decided if we don't do something to kind of keep the memories and went through a process, but this is where we wound up. John Marone Company opened in 1911 or 12, and then a group of guys at the Sioux City Stockyards, different commission firms, thought, well, here's an opportunity. So they came up, Rice Brothers, Steel, Simon, Farmers Union, Wagner Garrison, and they opened some firms up here. Then from that, the stockyards officially opened in 1917. They tell the story of the first couple of years that they would trade for farmers who wanted them by getting up on their little trucks and trading their logs in the back of the pickup until they got the facility. Yeah, but that's where it all started. That's the original John Marone plant, sure, across the street from the stockyards.
The packing plant's still going on, stockyards not so much anymore because we've just changed the way we market livestock.
A lot of the history is done in photos and stuff. And then, of course, we got this is the grand opening of the Sioux Falls Stockyards, and said,
oh, that's cool.
Definitely doing something. The Stockyards Cafe, you said you used to come up.
Oh yeah,
okay,
yeah,
well,
absolutely.
We've got an exhibit over here. Everybody talks about that. The first thing somebody will say, well, when I was a kid, and my dad would take me across the street.
It didn't even matter if you're going to the stockyards, you wanted to go to the cafe, right? Jim is a true leader in our community. If there was a Mount Rushmore of agriculture influencers in South Dakota, he'd definitely be on it.
Our population, our demographics changes all the time here.
Yeah.
People move in that have no identity. If you say farm, they don't even know what you're talking about.
Right.
But they're interested in it.
Yeah.
I mean, they really are.
Well, I think we've seen a lot of more recently people just interested in where their food comes from,
exactly
right? And that's a great thing.
That's exactly.
But we gotta tell that story, and that's kind of why we're doing this. We talked a little bit about the history. There's so much history in South Dakota agriculture, but there's really, we're looking forward to, and we're doing some really cool things in agriculture. It's one of the challenges with our ag groups is we have this echo chamber of people in ag, but we've got a facility right here in downtown Sioux Falls where there's a lot of tourists and just city folks coming down here. It's a good place to meet them. And
echo chamber is good. We talk to each other. But that's I like it.
Right, but you want
to
to get
reach
that out
to get
else
somebody
too,
else.
Right? It's
Abby, I don't know if this guy claims he knows you.
We met once.
Oh, geez, yeah. Yeah, I know this guy. Did you know that the first paved road in Minnehaha County was paved so livestock could be brought to the stockyards? So we're talking about literally the foundation of our community is built on agriculture, and it's such a light bulb moment for people. Yeah. My mom is from Chamberlain originally, so near Jim, where Jim grew up. In fact, my mom got her first Hereford steer from Jim's dad and uncle, because of course she did.
Small world
Stuff. She's like, oh yeah, I used to ride down with your grandpa all the time and bring livestock to the Sioux Falls Stockyards. I'd never heard that family story until I started working here. So making sure that we're rooted in that family and that kind of stuff, I think that's really important too.
Excellent. What was that like when you were a kid?
A lot of what you did revolved around, can you get to town if you needed to get there? The winters of 49, 50, 51, for example, we missed a lot of school just because you couldn't travel. We finished our cattle. We finished the calves that we raised, and they went to Sioux City. And then when I was probably 10, 11 years old, they started coming to Farmers Union in Sioux Falls. My dad was a Farmers Union guy. And I used to ride along, and I was always just loved it, be up in the crosswalk and see all the excitement and all that. I just fell in love with it. And so when I had a chance to go to work there, I took the job. And at that time, my first job was just a menial thing, just, as a stockyards company, cleaning grains and chasing cattle. And 1959 there are the guys that say there might have been a drier year than 76. So Brother Terry and I, Terry now lives in Chamberlain. He was for years, he was a journalist for the Argus Leader, for the Pure Capital Journal. So we're checking cows and checking fence and stuff. And there's a dugout that's just got just a little bit of water in the bottom of them, and it's got that black stuff because it's been dry. So he said, well, we got a 56 Chevy pickup, and I'm driving. He said, I bet you can't get through there. I said, I bet I can. Second gear, 50 mile an hour. Yeah, we got through it about halfway, and she just sat. Dad's a mile away and he's doing something. He's chiseling or something over there. And I said, you better go tell him. He said, I wasn't driving. I'll never forget this. So, and it's been dry, bad dry. So I walk and he stayed there. I walk and he idles that 720 down. And he's, what's going on? I said, I got stuck. Stuck. How the heck could you get stuck? It ain't raining 2 years out here. If there was a way to get in trouble, we would do it.
Yeah.
So, didn't mean to, but that was.
Well, hey, I bet you can't do that. Well, you're going to see me try that.
That's exactly right. So anyway, we were 23 miles from Chamberlain, and on Friday, Mother wanted us all to take piano lessons. There was a Miss Willerod. So almost every Friday, we'd go to Chamberlain, and we'd have to. I hated to practice. But then we'd stop at the library and change books. We'd get the Nancy Drew or Hardy Boys or something. So about all you had to do was read. I mean, because you'd have the radio going at night. But other than that, it was so we read a lot. And I think they believed in that reading thing. And I think that makes a difference.
What an honor to have him join us on the show and tell us a little bit about what it was like growing up in the 1950s in central South Dakota. From prehistoric farmers to self-taught engineers, it took a ton of people and ingenuity to grow and harvest our crop before our modern-day technology. We'll hear from some guys that have been around the block and have first-hand knowledge of how far we've come with modern-day food production. To learn more about how the homesteaders farm and the ingenious machines they developed, I talked with Gwen McCausland at the South Dakota Agricultural Heritage Museum on the campus of SDSU in Brookings, South Dakota. We look at this modern farm equipment. We were just at a farm yesterday with a big articulating tractor and, 300 or 400 horsepower. I don't really know. And it's got a refrigerator inside of it to keep the guy's lunch cold. I mean, we've come a long ways in 100 years.
So this is a corn picker. This was built by the Overby brothers, and they created this in 1904. They were self-taught engineers and plant breeders. They never went to college. They had just, high school education.
Like you see them rollers there. We were just at a place the other day that is milling their own corn, and it's not all that unlike this.
When I was young, I probably knew 3-4 people that had lost an arm or something, and them corn pickers were the big ones. My brother, I had 2 of them that got their hands in the wrong place and lost fingers.
Somebody get hurt nowadays, they'd get the helicopter out and pick them up. But healthcare, your first responder was the neighbor and your dad and whoever could get you in the back of the pickup to head down.
And then at the end of the day, if you had no accident, you had a good day.
I was just going to ask you. You told me that last time I was here. What's the definition of a good day?
No accidents.
No accidents. Working in community in conjunction with each other, that goes back a long, long time. I think that's really interesting.
It's never really not been a community event since the first seed was planted. And a lot of people think that like homesteaders came out and they were all on their own.
Right.
No, you had supplies, you had to have support for growing large quantities of crops. Steam engines started out as a stationary engine, and then they ended up evolving into a traction steam engine.
Okay.
So that meant they, of course, moved. These were not very common because they were extremely expensive at that time.
A lot of iron here. Yeah.
Yes. And so often, like custom combining, you would go from farm to farm and work with threshing crews.
So it's not all that unlike the harvest crews we see now that start in Texas and start harvesting wheat, and they just make their way north throughout the country. And
the custom combine.
Yeah.
But they didn't travel that far.
No,
not with these. Steam engines can explode.
Sure.
And that's even happened at modern threshing shows,
Jeez.
if you haven't been trained properly, and if you haven't had your boiler inspected, you can easily blow these things up, and they do fly into the air when they do that.
Hate to laugh, but man,
yes.
that's just scary. Yeah. Started getting all these big machines. We started breaking up ground, and all of a sudden, dust storms started happening, and people were kind of wondering what happened.
There was an idea that dirt was dirt, and that you could grow anything, anywhere, and you could produce or manage the same type of land, whether it was in Iowa or West River of South Dakota. Today, we know that is not the case.
You know, part of what happened with these fifth generations, 100-year-old farms was somehow they had to make it to the 30s. And a lot of them, maybe they got it back 10 years later, but a lot of those where I grew up, they lost them, including my grandpa Wooster.
If you're plowing up the land and you're not putting on cover crops, erosion happens.
For a whole summer, you tore everything up, you know, let the moisture, but that's how you did it.
Right. That was the thinking at the
That's
time.
what
when
you did.
You left it bare dirt.
You wanted everything black when you got done. You didn't want nothing thick enough. Just the opposite of what it should have been.
So that, of course, caused massive dust storms. There's also a misnomer that this was dirt from Kansas. No, this was our local dirt.
We did everything that we could to make a crop failure. We plowed that alfalfa.
Deep plowed.
Yeah,
Took that
tipped
sucker
her
up,
over
yep.
with a moldboard plow. And then you had to disc it 3-4 times. And then you dug it and you dried it out completely. Did everything that you could do wrong, but
What you were really doing was helping dry out the soil,
yeah,
but didn't know it.
we thought we were doing good,
Yep.
but things have really changed.
Now you go out there and you see these guys with no till and minimum till, and they're raised 160 bushel corn, where once in a while we'd get 40 if everything worked right, you know. We got electricity in 1953, so I don't remember a lot but I do remember how happy Mother was when they could turn the lights on and the water could run. And
So towns had electricity here in South Dakota in the 1880s and 90s. In the 1930s, under the New Deal, the Rural Electrification Act under FDR provided funding for electrical co-ops, but a lot of farms didn't get electricity until the 1950s. They were living off the grid, as you could say, using wind turbines.
When we go talk to farmers and ranchers all over, yeah, there's a lot of community based. They're involved in a lot of things. They help each other out. And the ingenuity and the inventiveness of people that grow our food and take care of the land is something that just never ceases to amaze me.
I graduated from high school in 59 and started farming in 59. I own the quarter of land that was the first quarter of land that I farmed. We just about know how to farm that quarter of land.
You're getting it figured out after
Yeah, we're getting it figured out.
60, 70 years? Average field today, how many times you go across it in the year?
Probably 3 times with the tractor and maybe 2 times with the sprayer. But it all depends on the ground too. There's certain quarters that get twice a year. It gets planted and it gets combined. That's all it gets done.
Yep. You really work the land how it needs to be worked. And I think you want to go out as few times as you can, but sometimes it requires a little bit more than that yet these days. At the Greenway family farm near Mount Vernon, South Dakota, Brent Greenway and I spent some time checking out his family's collection of beautifully restored historic tractors.
Travel back in time, I guess, and my grandpa restored a bunch of tractors that they either had on the farm for a long time or they had one very similar.
It's like a museum.
So this one, I don't believe it was the original G that they had, but that was his first tractor that he got when he started farming. So it's a 1951 Model G. Definitely the most sentimental one.
Sure.
When he passed away, it was actually Thomas, our business partner, actually led the funeral procession driving this. So yeah, this one over here is the only red one in the collection.
Stands out a little bit.
It does.
Well, you sure pack them in here.
Yes. Yes, we do. There's one actually missing because we've used that in a couple of braids because it runs good and we pull a
your
flow with
stalls
it.
are full.
Yes. Yep.
These really are museum quality.
MC Crawler is probably the most rare one up here. I can't remember how many of those they made. It's definitely the least at least fun to get out and about. It's really cool, but
Neat. You
try
don't
to-
want to drive that in the parade?
no, it's been through a number of parades, but always on a trailer.
My dad had one of the first ones he learned on was an old Alice Chalmers WD-45.
Okay.
And it's not the original one he had, but then he bought one of those several years ago. And then I traded him an old pickup for that. And it was pretty run down. It kind of ran so when I was still a teacher. So we brought it in your ag shop.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
got it running. And then not museum quality, but we repainted it.
Yeah.
We did everything.
Yeah.
And it's, we use it for raking hay.
Yeah.
A little bit every summer. And that's what first thing that both of my boys ever did any little small heroin out in the hayfields.
Yeah.
So it's
Good starter tractor.
kind of fun.
Yeah.
Well, they're really cool. Brent's continuing the work his grandpa started many years ago, taking care of these trusty old machines. Agriculture has always been on the cutting edge of technological development. Today, that is no different. From self-propelled machines, drones, virtual fencing, machines that talk to each other, and a bio-based economy, modern-day agriculture continues to drive us into the future with innovation.
What agriculture is done with research and innovation by the farmers and machinery innovation and technology on the machinery, and it's just, and I'm not good at any of that stuff except that about once a year I'll ride on somebody while they're harvesting in the combine, and it's like being in the cockpit of a 747. I mean, it's just changed. Yeah. My dad died in 1968, died of cancer. He was really young. I always wished he could have farmed with a cab.
Yeah.
Just once to see what it's like to keep the dirt off.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
keep the sun, but
Yeah.
it's just been so much fun to watch. And when you think about, I was in the cattle business, but my Lord, what these guys have done with genetics and nutrition to change the beef industry. I mean, oh my goodness, the product that they're putting out, wonderful era right now.
Bo, some of the modern day stuff, we've done shows, we've seen autonomous tractors coming and things like that. I was riding in a combine with you last year and we weren't even driving it, were we?
Well, half the time we weren't, it seemed like. Just
So-
turning around on the ends. We have two 8250s that we run, and they're both synced up together. So I can see what Dad's doing on mine. He can see what I'm doing on his. It's better in beans when you're matched up with each other. If I set a GPS line in beans, he doesn't have to go and try and match that line. My line automatically sends to him, so they're synced up, so we get the most efficiency out of them.
Why does efficiency matter?
Well, you never know when it's going to rain. Like this spring, it's rained every other 2 days. It's nice to have that efficiency. You get as much done as you possibly can in a short amount of time. And I don't know, a lot of the autonomy, you say, they kind of have that in the combines right now where it'll just feed as much as it can for the combines. And so like there's a rain coming, it's gonna push the combine as hard as it can. Kind of ease of use, you can watch other things like, oh, grain cart's coming here, I better unload. I don't have to steer because it's steering on its own, so I can pay attention to something else, make sure everything's running right inside the combine.
Do you get to run some of that, Gramps?
I haven't run the new combines. I could if I had to. If they gave me a half-hour crash course on it, I think I could get by, but
What are you guys seeing that's coming out that you guys are hoping that you can incorporate into the operation?
There's a lot of stuff. Technology is, and like you said, it's going so quick. I feel like with the corn planter, I feel like it's been the same over the past 10 years. I just feel like there's a little more we could do for that, almost to the point where you can get that seed exactly pointed down or pointed up, however, I don't know how it's supposed to be, but get that pointed exactly how it's supposed to be. And we already have a lot of technology with putting them where they need to be,
Right.
but almost placing them right where they need to be when they're putting fertilizer in the furrow. It's spraying it right on the seed. If that's the way to go, it's I mean, you're saving on fertilizer costs because you're not just putting it the whole row.
Yeah.
That's just some stuff. I think the corn planter is, I think they could go so much farther with that and make that better than it is. But
Yeah.
If Bo is combining and he gets off the seat of his combine, that thing shuts off. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
And that's nothing but a safety feature.
Right.
the technology we have in our combines, it's amazing. And it's like, I just don't know how to get better than that.
Karen and Kenny Schooley can be proud to say their grandsons, Bo and Booker, are carrying on the family legacy, learning from the past to secure their future.
The last numbers I saw, that we still are in South Dakota, 95% of something of the farms are still family owned. And that's what's been fun to see in all my years in the cattle business and farm visits, is to see a third generation and even a few fourth generations. That fourth generation are probably 10, 11 years old, but they're out there.
Yeah, we're really improving what we do. We're improving the environmental aspect of it. We're improving the efficiency aspects of it, the things that we're doing to advance food production. I mean, that's really what it is.
To keep your farm for nonstop for 100 years is pretty darn.
It sounds just like a number to us, but that's a lot of trials and tribulations for several generations.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, God bless them.
For over 100 years, scientists have been talking about the importance of soil. Throughout that time, the way we produce food has definitely changed. But one thing remains the same: the commitment it takes from our farmers and ranchers to get the job done no matter what.